Hey guys, Squatch Reloading here. Well, today it happened. I was riding a big run over on my Dillon XL 750 and I ran out of processed brass. And this usually never happens, but I've been kind of slacking on my brass prep. So I thought, what a great time to show everyone what the secret Squatch recipe is on processing brass. So what we're going to do today, we're going to use our Frankfurt Arsenal wet tumbler with stainless steel pins. I've got a whole bucket, or a big coffee can full here, of range pickup. It's all been decapped, so you can see it's pretty grimy, but not too bad. So we're going to test out the Squatch recipe. I know a lot of guys, this is one of those sources of contention on the Facebook groups, is how much Lemmy Shine, or what kind of Dawn dishwashing liquid, the special liquid, or the Armor All car wash with the Canuba wax and brass juice and all that. So I'm going to let you on a secret. Here's my recipe and I'm going to show you. This is the cheapest Dawn style soap that you can buy, and generally it's whatever my wife has underneath the kitchen sink. So today we're going to be using Radiance. It's tough on grease, so we're going to use that today. So instead of Lemmy Shine, I have, well, this is Dollar General Rinse Aid. Compare it to Jet Dry. So we're going to see how this cheap stuff does in cleaning brass. So stick around and let's get going. Alright, so I went ahead and opened up one side of my tumbler here, and one thing to note is make sure that you don't have any pins or any kind of debris here on your rubber seals. And sometimes what I like to do is just kind of rub them down with some of the soapy water solution here once I go to put the cap back on. But the first thing I always do is I'm going to take just some stainless steel pin media. And one thing to note, guys, this stuff can get dirty, especially. Let me just dump this here real quick. Alright. And one thing you don't want to do is start tapping on that container and get pins everywhere, but your pins can actually get dirty, especially if you're using like a Dillon case lube or the alcohol and lanolin, and you do a batch in here and things come out kind of slimy or have a residue on them. It's usually because your pins are dirty. So I usually do like a rinse cycle with just some dishwashing liquid in the pins in the tumbler with some hot water, and just kind of clean it out every once in a while. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some cartridges, and I've never tried to do a whole one, so maybe we'll try that today. I don't know. But this is, like I said, half of a coffee container, so we're going to try to get those in without spilling them everywhere. I think I dropped one over there. Or two. Three. Alright, let's just get them in there. Alright, like I said, I've never tried to do a whole one before, so we're going to pick up these ones we dropped, and I'll shoot you guys up here so you can see how many's in here. So with our pins, we had about, I don't know, 3 or 4 pounds of pins in there, and then one coffee container, like a Folgers container full, so we're about halfway full on the tumbler. So I'm going to get some water, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I got all of the ones that I dropped picked up, and I just got some hot water here. So we're going to go ahead and dump this in. You can see the steam coming up here. I like to use hot water, it just seems like it cleans a little better. We'll see here. Alright, so one thing I like to do, just make sure that all of the cartridges are covered, and I'll bring you over here so you can see. So they're just barely covered with hot water there. All right, so now the secret recipe. Here we go. All right, so it's always a good idea to put your soap and your rinse aid and stuff in before, or I'm sorry, after you put the water in. That way it doesn't all suds up on you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a half a tablespoon of the soap. So here we go. We're just going to fill it up. And that's all we're going to use right there. And I'm just going to kind of clean it off a little bit there in the water. So now we're going to put our rinse aid in. Let me grab it here. And this is all I use. I use 1/8 of a teaspoon of rinse aid. That's it. And sometimes this will want to squirt out, so I always do it over top the container. But there's 1/8 of a teaspoon. And it's not much. And sometimes guys will do this and they'll be like, I did everything. I put the rinse aid or the Lemmy Shine in and the soap, and everything come out really dull. And generally that's because you put way too much rinse aid or Lemmy Shine in, and it'll actually dull the brass if you put too much in. And we found another cartridge there. So okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get this buttoned up, and then we're going to start it off in our tumbler. Alright guys, so one thing I always do with my rubber seals is I'll take some of the soapy water solution here, and I'll just rub it around the gasket just to make sure, you know, one, it never dries out, and two, that we get a good seal around the tumbler, because what you don't want to happen is this to leak, because it's not like you're going to sit down here and watch it for hours and have water and gunk and everything else all over the place. So I'm going to get it nice and snug, and then we're going to get it started here on our tumbler. Alright, so now I'm just going to do it real quick, just double check to make sure I got everything snug on both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and just sit this one out for 3 hours, since we're doing a whole tub of brass there, and I just want to get it done. I'm not hung up on it being shiny, but we're going to set it for 3 hours and see how it does. Alright, let's check these out. Okay guys, looks like we got a sudsy mess. I'm going to get these pins separated and get these out, and we'll see how they look, and we'll put them in the dryer. Okay, so let's pour these in our Frankfurt Arsenal media separator, and let's see how they turned out. I'm going to give this some taps, try to get all the pins out that I can. We still got quite a few in here. Pins everywhere. That is the only drawback of using a wet tumbler, is these pins. And you inadvertently spill some here and there, but those look pretty decent. I mean, that's the most I've ever done in one batch. And that's cheap, generic Dawn dishwashing liquid, and I don't even think that's Lemmy Shine, so not too bad. Let's get these separated out and put them in the dryer. Yeah, I'm using the Frankfurt Arsenal media separator, and we're just going to give it a bunch of spins, probably about 15 or 20 in one direction, then I'll go 15 or 20 in the other direction. Alright, so there they are, all their glory. And again, this is more than I've ever done in one time, so let's just take a quick peek. I mean, look at those primer pockets, look pretty good. You know, again, you don't have to decap these. I've done this several times, just loaded them up and decapped them on the press, but yeah, let's get these in the dryer and see how they turned out. Okay, so to dry my brass, I'm going to put them in this Frankfurt Arsenal Platinum Series brass dryer. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is nothing more than a food dehydrator. And in fact, if you can find one of these at a Goodwill or a, you know, wherever, Walmart, you know, less than $35, $40, I would buy that. Don't spend the money on the Frankfurt Arsenal food dehydrator. I mean, it's nice. It has their logo on it and stuff, but and it works fine. But for the money, if you can find this up secondhand, go for it, because it's all you're going to use it for is drying brass. So let's get these in the dryer and get them finished. All right, nothing special here. I'm just going to start laying these out in the tray, you know, a few handfuls at a time. Just going to spread them out a little bit. You know, don't be afraid to get the tray full, because you have like 5 more here. So just get it full. We did a lot of brass, so we're just going to get those on there. Set another tray on top and keep repeating the process until we get everything loaded up in the dryer. All right, we got everything loaded up. And for you guys, I just usually set mine kind of in the middle. You know, we're going to let it sit for an hour. No sense of just baking your brass, but the main thing is just the air movement and getting all the water spots and stuff dried up. And we're just going to plug it in and let it sit for an hour. So you can hear it's on. So I will get back with you once we're done here. All right, it's been an hour. Let's see how dry they are. Pop the top here. Yep, they are nice and toasty. Let's get these in our bin. All right, some clean 9mm pistol brass going in the bin. Alright, that should keep us busy for a while. Alright guys, looks like my bin is starting to fill back up. We've got, I'm going to guess 700 to maybe 1,000 cartridges finished up there. So I'm going to do a couple more batches. I generally like to keep about 2,500, 3,000 down here, because that Dillon XL750 gets hungry, and having plenty of ready-to-go brass is a must. So one thing I want to tell you guys, this is just to show you what you can expect from not jumping on the brass juice, Lemmy Shine, all that bandwagon. You know, I know on the groups there's guys that get hung up on how shiny their brass is. I'm not one of those. I just like to get them clean, and I think these look pretty darn good. One thing I will note, on some of my other videos, you've heard me talk about the Dillon hiccup. And what that is on your powder funnel and expansion die, when you go to drop the shell plate, sometimes that powder funnel will stick in the case. And if you call Dillon, what they're going to tell you is your brass is too clean. And I believe it, and here's why. I've never experienced the Dillon hiccup until I started wet tumbling. When I first started getting into reloading, or I shouldn't say getting into, when I first started reloading on a progressive like the Dillon, the XL650 and the 550, I never experienced the hiccup. And the reason being is, one, I never really even cleaned my brass. I would just size it and punch the primer out and let's go again. Or when I upgraded, I got a dry media tumbler, and I always put like a little bit of new finish or some kind of car wax, just something in there. And I never experienced the hiccup until wet tumbling. And we know wet tumbling gets everything super clean, especially with the Dawn, or in my case, the generic dishwashing liquid and the Lemmy Shine or Rinse Aid from Dollar General. That's when I experienced the Dillon hiccup. So if you're a wet tumbler and you run on the XL750 or 650 or 550 or whatever, and you're using the Dillon expander and powder funnel, you're gonna run into the Dillon hiccup. Now, I do hear that there's a couple products out, or say a couple companies making different profile powder funnels to alleviate that, and maybe we'll look into it in a future episode, but that's gonna be part of the game when you are wet tumbling. So don't forget to come find me over on Facebook and Instagram at Squatch Reloading. All my videos are right here. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. So until next time, guys, God bless.